You hear that stream? You hear that chat? You going crazy.
Global gag rule? No, I'm not. Are you aware of what's called the global gag rule? Are you familiar with the global gag rule? No. So this stupid thing that happens every time the Republican versus Democrat president comes in, removes the global gag rule, and now foreign money that goes to other countries, developing nations, they can have reproductive care, abortion care, and the Republican president comes in, and then that gets removed. The global gag rule, the Republican president comes in, they remove any foreign aid to any country. Donald Trump has vowed to expand the global gag rule to just mean any aid that a country gets. So, like Ethiopia, 75% of its healthcare infrastructure is from America. If they offer any type of abortion services in that country, he's going to cut off all aid completely. So normally it's in regards to family planning. And it's very
All right, let's play. My time. I think I'm waiting for Rama to come out. And then he usually pops in when he sees me playing SMITE too. Poor Dan.
I would support that because I do believe that child in the womb has
This motherfucker has a tennis ball beanie.
Foreign aid would be cut off if they're offered abortion care. Now, Donald Trump has promised to end all foreign aid to any country if there is anything like a Planned Parenthood or any type of abortion services at all, like countries that get malaria funding and stuff like that. So he's doing a worldwide ban on abortion.
Yeah.
How do we feel about this?
I feel amazing, and I feel like a lot of the Christians who didn't want to vote for him or didn't want to vote at all because he's not pro-life enough or he's not 100% this.
Wait. Pro-life people didn't vote for him because he wasn't pro-life? No, stop.
They wouldn't vote at all because Jesus wasn't on the ballot. So,
yeah, we haven't seen that.
Yeah, there's a lot of Christians in my own hometown and just people in the church that, they see politics and they don't really want anything to do with it.
So you believe in the separation of church and state?
I don't think that we should be on the front lines of the state.
Why?
What the fuck?
Because that's what our founders wanted, and that's why they.
Fuck that church.
The Constitution. They said a lot. My issue is people that have died because they have that access to this. They're in states, they're a miscarriage, someone goes wrong. They need this fetus taken out. They can't get access. The doctors cannot do anything for them. They're like dying in the parking lot of a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to someone that already had 2 kids. They're pregnant with a third. And the doctor said, this is not going to go well for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they were early enough for it's like, okay, this is a very hard decision to make. I have 2 kids that are alive. I have this fetus in my womb. What do I do? I could roll the dice, but if I die, I'm a single mother.
Yeah, I hate for it to be in that position, certainly. But if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to you said that there's women who they need the child removed.
Yeah, they need the fetus removed.
But is that because it's like the fetus has died? Is that what you're saying?
There's complications, fetus dead, or there's instances of ectopic pregnancies. There's all types of medical issues that we could go into that someone that's actually a doctor could list out. Honestly, you and I could probably agree on one thing. Childbirth in itself is a miracle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The amount of complications that someone has to go through to carry it to viability is. I'm surprised that anyone gets born at all.
If you understand fully the nature of sexual act, then if you know what the consequences are, you gotta live with consequences, right? If I choose that I'm gonna take, this way to work versus this way, I'm gonna lose the consequence that maybe if I take this way I don't know, maybe I run into a car accident or something, right?
Now that Donald Trump has won the election, would you like to see a national abortion ban?
It'd be very difficult to achieve because even Trump seems to be the guy that's like, well, Roe v. Wade's gone, so it's a states' right issue. It would take a lot of movement in Congress for it to get going. I'm sure if it crossed his desk, he probably would sign it. Might require something like a constitutional amendment, but we'll see.
For you, it's just a logistical thing.
Yeah, it's a logistical thing. If it could happen, I'd support.
Well, it's coming in handy. I'm done.
Yes.
Oh, so it's Trump's in there?
Yeah, Trump.
No, wait, so I actually don't know anything about it. All I know is the other people that it.
Yeah, then apparently you have to read the news because I just learned about it. And
Okay.
that's why I wrote the deed. But she entered abortion clinics with a rose and phone numbers. About to allow these women another choice, right? A peaceful protest, and her and a lot of her fellow protesters were arrested.
And then so Trump, this was one of the first things he did.
Yeah, it's separate from the 1,500 that were.
Oh, no, that's
That's a different part.
That's J6.
Yes, right. So separate from the J6, I guess.
There's the conversation that pro-life people don't care about the baby once it's born. There are a bunch of people that believe that. But I wanted to find the people that don't to support universal school lunch and universal child care. We just think people should have access to this, and we thought the best place to get signatures for this petition are the March for Life. This is the place where everyone cares about life. Would you like to send a petition?
I don't really appreciate being English on camera.
Back when they released podcasts, immediately disavowed by nearly everyone in it who said, oh, it might have been insider trading and all. Podcasts was not supposed to go live. They not every step of the way. They leaked the podcast, and then they posted it when it was supposed to be canceled. They twice. The third was so accusations fighting. The episode got deleted, but it's still out there in the ether now with everyone nitpicking it apart. It's kind of a complete disaster to a team. And I'm not even more trying to problem with it. I want to go through it because, yes, we do get mentioned in it, sort of as the boogeyman of crypto, kitchen, front flowing. If I come after you,
Silly guy. I'm a scary guy. Let me tell you, don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
whoa, don't ever want to have a conversation with me. Intimidating. What's the problem? I'm Joe Rogan in Chicago. I thought it's not that. Right? If you meet me in person, you're not going to be like, relax. It's fine. Let's have a conversation. I understand. And I also because Haley Welch's lawyer invited me on the show. In fact, like, really, really wanted me on their show and kept telling me how much Haley Welch liked me. It's the t-shirt, I used to like Coffee Zilla until he wouldn't come on my podcast. Then he is, Baltimore imaged and scary. I'm down. I'm not for Coffee Zilla. He's intimidating. Here's the message I got from her lawyer. Haley would like to have you on as a guest on her podcast. You'd be the first guest to build crypto token launch. Would get significant amount of views. Would be very friendly. She really likes you. Wow. I turned into, the most scary man in the world. Now, questions, details, and this guy said, I understand your position. I think the more details come to light, she does care about Walker's all during Erwin Law all been very traumatic for her, and basically come on the show. We're at the podcast's top priority for the first episode of 2025. Me, looking at outside, to be honest, talk to the show. But You scammed me. And I really felt that questions had not been answered that should have been answered, such as what was the agreement with Haley Welch and with John College? Very simple question, right? Basically, Haley Welch's position is, oh, I was the victim. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how much I was barely going to make money. 125K plus like, half of 10% of the token flat for a year. Like it's a terrible deal. I got taken advantage of, but it's monstrous. That was kind of their position. And all I wanted to know was, give me the project. Show me if that is true. And unfortunately, they were not able to get it. I'm in a position to share it, that I'm sorry. It can't verify anything you say. Even what you told me about the 50% split, which I had heard, talk to was going to make 50% of all. And he kind of told me, no, 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 that's just the price of the token. I'm like, oh, well, maybe she lets the stakeholders. I don't know. I even pinned a comment on it with Conrad. I said, no idea if it's real. He says, come take the podcast. I thought this was really sneaky. I thought that's weird. And not even like let me post it, but just read it. That's super weird. And in general, I find that in these situations, going on people's podcasts where I report on them, they are trying to kind of control the situation so they look as good as possible, obviously. Like go on their podcast. I appreciate it. Well, they bring Faye Banks on. Because Faye Banks is like the closest thing to doing what I did as well on the live stream. He also went running Hollywood, and so he was sort of one of the people that broke the news. So I thought, okay, that's a pretty natural guy to bring on your podcast. Now, Faye Banks reached out to me and said, hey, I'm trying to do this podcast. Do you have any questions? Would you like to get into it? I said, yes, I do. I really like to do it. Spoiler alert, Faye Banks didn't do it either. They did a show. These guys are always
Sure, pal. Mm-hmm.
When this podcast went live, thought maybe things went well. Turns out it didn't because Banks released this. He said, I agreed to your first podcast back. I had many stipulations of not letting the market get manipulated. Her team finding a real solution regarding the money she made was for non-starters. These people leaked or insider traded the token. We noticed a random spike in volume on the coin the day we did the podcast, along with random messages asking if we did the podcast. Are you guys getting this? Somebody the podcast to buy more coins so they can they release this podcast. Not run the coin. It's like, why do you want to re-victimize people? So they call up even the people most charitable guards talk to us, hey, we're out.
Minions have spawned.
Like where she tries about the rug troll, and people are saying, so saying, Katie Welch broke out in tears while talking about the alleged rug troll.
I want to start by saying thank you to all my true fans and all the people that actually watch my stuff, keep up with me. We're trying to sort out all the pieces and stuff, like get all this figured out, make everything right. I don't know if you're right.
Don't try. We're going to be good. We're going to be good. No, you're not. He, I, I can't be a part of it. I posted the clip.
Got brought to me. It was supposed to be like a, what they call a long-term tour. And the guy that ran the account, he's like, oh, we're going to change like the way everybody thinks of crypto. Crypto's going to be a good place. And I feel really bad for all the people that got affected by it. It just didn't go the way I planned.
That's right, guys. Haley Welch is very sorry. I want you to know she did not go that way. And that podcast clip, yes, it wasn't supposed to it was leaked. We don't know how. I approached, of course, the guys behind it. They said it was an editor mistake. Oh, oops. Yes, the guys who interviewed thought we may have insider traded the coin, but this guy said she vouched for the and better, Big Paul's team, I guess. No way they would ever do something like that, guys. Believe us, we will likely never know the info. Clip posting leak today was an accidental by Better's editor who had the episode in the YouTube queue waiting on Google. Now, I don't know if it's true or false. The weird thing about this video is that like everyone has had recorded, you don't like do all the work if you think it might get. These people not only edited the show, they put an ad in the leaked version of the episode. Okay? So I'm not saying it's leaked. I'm saying it's highly convenient.
This started. Game time believes in me, y'all, and I believe in them. Game time is more real than most of y'all's mans out here. Yeah, some of those guys just leave at the first opportunity they get. Not game time.
Not game time, guys. Game time wouldn't leak an episode on you. So that's just the start of this atrocious episode. But now that it's out, I did take a look at it, and it made me think twice about something that I've been trying to get to the bottom of for a while, which is that contract I keep asking about. Who was supposed to make the money? Right? That's always the question in a case like this. That's what the boogeyman wants to know. I got to know who to scare. I got to go know who's banding it under to scare them at night. And repeatedly asking this, and as I've said, basically their position is that she was just the small fry. She was the person who got tricked into promoting this. Right? But there was a certain thing she said that confused me. Remember two things. First, Haley Welch was getting half of everything. She's not smart. She's like one of the main players. Or two, she's basically getting $125K and nothing else. Well, I heard this during the show, and it made me think.
Half the money is supposed to go like into my charity. That's really why I agreed to it.
Did you hear that?
Half the money.
Half the money. That's very interesting. That's very different from what we've been told. It's like, oh, it's $125K. I don't know if the part about the charity is true. That it was all supposed to go to charity. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Again, that's why I keep asking about the contract. Now, to their lawyer, and I was like, look, I don't understand the secrecy with the contract. You can settle it so easily. This guy says, I'm on a phone call. Then he said something he's been saying the whole time. He said 50% of net proceeds, currently what you're talking about, half the money, was from the mutually agreed upon allocation of tokens. 10% locked for 1 year with a 3-year vest thereafter. Mechanics, which is not calling it, the other 50% of the 10%. So not 50%, 5%, 1 year locked up. That's a terrible deal if you guys don't know that. But he said her intention was to give her side of charity, but never got far enough down the road to make those questions. In regard to not sharing a contract, we can, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is where I finally had to play some of the cards that I had kept close to the chest. I've been talking behind the scenes, right? And I got a very interesting insider document that a lot of people don't know about. This is from Doc Hollywood himself, which, if you remember, is like the key guy. Here he is saying, we'll do best to make it as simple as possible. The pre-sale raise is 50-50 Project Haley. Fees for market making and LP is split between us and That's a very, very different story than I've been told. Up 50-50 pre-sale. Like, that's millions of dollars. The fees were millions of dollars, okay, for like $1 million. And that's what I said. Very, very different. This guy says, I think you can safely distrust anything coming from Doc Holly's mouth. He's denying it. He's saying, that's not true. Then he says, look, I just can't have the contract published online only to let you see it with your own eyes, and saying that's why he's going to let me see it on the podcast. I said, well, these messages were prior to the failure of the podcast. So I didn't understand why would Doc lie. This isn't him saying it to cover himself later. It's like talking in a chat with other insiders. That's it.
Your left tower is under attack.
Minus, that's not my problem. That's not my pasta problem. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. And I honestly forgot what we were doing. That's not my problem. No, just feels lazy. Like, I'm a good actor. I just think, because this lame thing here the whole time, like, it's like a little cinnamon bun action. Weekend. Hey, Timothy. You have some Mondays today? Oh, thanks. No, I'll chill. Chill wherever you want. We replace you. That's not my problem. Yes. Great day, everyone. So, once again, Christian denies it because he's not right. I said, I don't understand your position. You want me to not trust internal messages from before the launch and trust you who refuses to produce evidence. This guy said, look, I can tell you what I think, but I don't have any way to prove it. I then say, you sit on a podcast, you negotiate a contract. Personally, I'm negotiating a contract with the company. I don't get why Haley would benefit from such a bad contract if what you said is true. This is really how I feel. Half of 10% of tokens plus 125K makes 0 cents for someone who's bringing in all of the name recognition. Like, you're bringing the whole thing, and you're getting this like measly piece of the pie. Doesn't check out. Like 125K, a lot of money, but they made like $4 million. So then he says this: the contract says she was paid 125K on signing, 200K within 30 days of launch. And you didn't know that, and 50% of the net proceeds of the project, with mutually agreed upon tokenomics we agreed to, were for half of the 10% of the tokens. Now, I want you guys to realize that what he just said is backtracking on what he's been saying the entire time. Which he's been saying the entire time, oh, it's just 50% of the 10%. 50% of the tiny amount of tokenomics we're getting. No. What he's saying here, finally, he's giving us the real story. It's 50% of the net proceeds of the project, period. That's completely different from what they told us. But if 50% of that proceeds does not mean half 10%, it means 50% of that proceeds, which is market making, pre-sale. This is like $4 million that they talked about. And I don't know if he's just trying to put it out here, but he goes, we were told by the medic that pre-sale takes $4 million to run a main point? Or like 3.9 million? Sorry. Only 5% of the tokens of Apple think they need $3 million to run a main point, 3 plus 3.9 roughly. The dev team, 5 predictions that they had
Your middle tower is under attack.
$4 million for win. Right? And you got to like realizing like, yeah, they're just trying to get out of it. Like, if you think for a second, they would have said, oh, we only want the 10% if this project succeeded. You're mistaken. They would have asked for the millions of dollars. Now they're saying it because that money's getting them in trouble, right? There's a lawsuit about that money. So they're saying, oh, we weren't entitled to that. No, that's not us. Christian Baker says, we didn't even know the amount of money raised from the pre-sale until launch. I say, yes, but you're entitled to that for the literal contract. Also, we were told Meteora was going to de-escalation schedule from 15% down to 1%. That would happen one after one. Obviously, that didn't happen. He said, my understanding is that a large tranche of the pre-sale money was put in the LP. We didn't have the access to the cash. We don't know about wallets. You're also told pre-sale tokens would be on 1 month line. 1 year best. That didn't happen either. And once again, this is where I have to play some of my cards. But like I said, I've been investigating some people going, oh, we weren't going to make any money. And like, you guys aren't the victims. I hope you guys are understanding that this is kind of my feeling on all this. They're trying to be like, and that's just not true. Like, that's not what they stood to make. I said, what do you mean? You told me I could disregard what Doc said. Remember, he said, oh, you can disregard it. But y'all literally had a contract for 50% of net proceeds. Doc himself said the project was going to cost a few $100,000. If that's the case, pre-sale $2.8 million, fees $1 million, made almost $4 million. Y'all are contractually owed like $1.6 million. And then I shared another insider text from Doc Hollywood, where he says, what we can do is put a hard number to the side for the project has cost. Like, we spent a few $100,000 on the project already. That money will be paid back to us off top. Then the profit is paid out. If a few $100,000 is what it costs, and the profit paid out, who's the profit entitled to? I'll do it, girl. That's who it is. And we're all being gaslit about, like, oh, make no money. Like, the money is like over law enforcement money.
This bitch.
However, she was hooked at. So literally, he's committed. Not telling the truth about how much money. All right, she may be entitled to millions of dollars. So, yeah. What? 10% lots of for managers take their time.
Back in, there was a 10% allocation of the token. It would be on a 1 year lock and then a 3 year drip after that. Of that 10%, half of that was supposed to go to the company that created the project, and half was to go. So out of 100% token, she would have 5%. And obviously, she has lawyer, manager, business manager, so even that 5% would have been cut down over.
I unbelievable. They're playing the victim. I can believe a lot of plausible stories. I really don't believe anything they tell me at this point, but I could be convinced that this might be. I maybe that Fox Hiller's team was under the impression that all these pre-sale investors were locked up for a month, right? That's what they told me. Again, I don't believe them necessarily, but I could. It's plausible, right? I asked him, when did you learn that the insiders had zero lockups? He said, when they started jumping, I put a whole lot of stats at a 1 month lock, 1 year linear vest thereafter. It can tell you what I think happened, but I don't have any way of proving it without seeing stats. I have the stats. I can tell you what happened. The pitch deck did say it was a 1 month lockup, right? And then you get the stats, the actual token agreements with like the real investor, no lockup. That's how it all kind of went down, fellas. They lied. They deceived people with fake investment lockup. Like they gave a pitch deck that was not really what the pitch deck ultimately turned out to be. Whether that was left in chain, whether there's some great way to explain it, I don't think there is. But look, you can believe that, right? But Haley Welch's team this whole time has been acting like so unbelievably dishonest in how they're framing all this, trying to make her look like as sympathetic as possible, instead of admitting, like, we did have some. Maybe we should have asked more questions. We did stand to make way more money than we've let on in a lot of these interviews and with journalists. We haven't been exactly forthcoming about that. So it makes it hard to be charitable, which kind of they're wanting you to be if you contract, if we don't know what they do, right, at the time when all this stuff happened. And it clearly was a scam because the pitch deck said one thing, they said it was a lockup, the stats said it wasn't a lockup. But it's hard to be charitable, right? When this is kind of the way they're interfacing, even with the faith experts who wanted to be charitable to her pretty explicitly. Like they were like, look, even when they talked about me, they're like, hey, it's not going to be that bad. We're not going to be like, oh.
That scary guy. Let me tell you, don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
We're moving more charitable with coffee. I think coffee kind of has a little bit of disdain for crypto in general. Also, with the hand, we live in fear everywhere. We want to see crypto succeed.
Who admit that they have like a bias towards being charitable, right? Maybe I have a bias for being scary. But even they don't want anything to do with her team because her team is leaking stuff, up, like all this stuff with supposed insider trading. Again, their team's not, I got to be clear about that, but clearly somebody was trading on the information, which they shouldn't have, and then leaked the episode as an accident. So, yeah, I just wanted to cover this story, explain how bad faith they've sort of been throughout this, some of the revelations we've learned since then, and also admit there's plenty we don't know that I hope will be revealed in this lawsuit, which is happening about this point, fighting for this money. But clearly, Haley Welch's team is like, oh, we don't want that. We just want to, want to say we're not entitled to any of that. And so I do hope in that lawsuit things actually come out and victims get their money back. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this story now that the talk is floating around on the internet. I wanted people to get a more clear, holistic picture of what actually happened, both on the screen and behind the scenes. Okay.
With hotels and vacation rentals, Booking.com has something for everyone. We, right this way.
About something more.
Maybe a resort with a water park? Yeah, one biggest hotel for the bride to be. Everybody, we have vacations. Find exactly what you're looking for. Booking.com, Booking.com.
The enemy team has destroyed the goal.
Bamboo HR is easy for everyone, especially HR. It saves them time and money by consolidating tools. Executives love how easy it is to access and build reports. IT loves how easy it is to implement. And love how easy it is to run payroll. It's easy for all employees, like them. And them. All the time easy for a single family. Maybe it is easy for everyone. Yes, even you choose easier HR today with Bamboo HR.
I've not been the same since we had lunch. You explained to me, and I've said it here, the fabric of space-time might be woven by wormholes that connect the virtual particle pairs that come in and out of existence.
So it's like a little quantum net holding the whole universe together.
Exactly right. Defined mathematically, if we cut the threads of quantum entanglement, space falls apart. It discretizes into little tiny pieces and it just disappears. That's done.
This is Star Talk. Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal magic businesses. I got Chuck Knight with me. Chuck,
What's up, Neil?
All right. You know what you're going to talk about today? The only way to talk about physics, okay, is to talk about physics with Brian Green.
That is true.
Got it. You know,
Yeah.
you can't, it's empty. It's unless you have Brian Green in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And he's just up the street, up in Columbia. You're dual professor, professor of physics and professor of mathematics.
Wow. You get paid twice for that. But I go to no faculty meetings. I don't watch them in the other department.
It's very cool.
I'm sorry. I'm math today.
So you're author of several books, Until the End of Time. Was that your more recent?
That's my most recent.
And that came out how long ago?
2020, right after the pandemic.
Right.
What a moment to have a book called Until the End of Time.
And the one I think most people know, if they know you at all, the Elegant Universe, the fabric of the cosmos.
Yeah.
The hidden reality.
Yeah, it's multiple universe.
Right, man, didn't have. So these all up. I believe the fabric of the universe is a tweet. The tweet. A satin. So welcome back to the show. show. This is like you're more than a three-peat, I think. At this point.
Yeah, okay.
And you're involved in a lot of things. You're writing, other than being a professor, you're writing the books. And are we in the 15th year of your World Science Festival? How many years have you been doing
That's right. We started 2008. So if you just subtract, it's even a little bit more. But the pandemic changed things a little bit. Yeah, but we're coming up to probably the 15th live event.
Congratulations on that. Although it's a little audacious to hold it in New York and call it the World Science Festival.
But we don't only have it in New York. We also have it in Australia, and we've had events in Amsterdam, in Moscow,
I have nothing. I can't.
Italy, in Spain.
I know.
New York is the
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, for anybody out there listening, I'm sorry. You go to Paris, you find Parisian. You go to England, you find the Brits. But come to New York, you find everybody.
Audacious would have been like the cosmic science.
Yeah.
Then you would have had a point.
Well, congratulations on bringing it to the world. We're taking it to the world. And what I enjoyed most about the several that I've attended is the effort to bring the arts in a meaningful way. There are many artists who I would later learn are not rare, who are inspired by science, the universe, and discovery. And they will compose dance, music, and you have a mixture of these sessions.
We do. I mean, the goal is to have science feel connected to everything that matters to us. And of course, culture is a big part of it.
Culture and arts matter to everybody.
In fact, now with AI, we're doing a program on the arts in the age of artificial intelligence. So how is AI changing how artists approach their work and how scientists think about art?
Unemployed artists.
Well, but it's funny. People say that. Yeah, but whenever new technology comes along, like the camera, people are like, okay, now you don't need artists anymore because anyone can just click. But there are artists who use the camera to create things that mere mortals can't.
And there are painters who actually take a picture and then they actually paint the picture as opposed to having someone sit for a portrait.
But that was the biggest issue, the biggest thing. The biggest force operating was you no longer needed the artist to portray reality, because of course the camera captured that. So that's
freedom us.
Freed the artist to portray impressionistic
beyond reality. It's that.
It's not what the scene looks like. It's what the scene feels like.
Interpretation.
That matters.
It's huge. I mean, that's what is the magic in so much expression. Right? And it's what we do with it as opposed to just literally depicting what's out there. So there are many people who project that AI is going to create, a new kind of art, just the way the camera,
So we still has to shake out.
I think AI will just accelerate creativity. It doesn't replace it, because what happens is you have associations that are being made at a level that you as a human being would maybe eventually over the course of years you might make those associations, but the computer can do it almost instantaneously. Right. And then you take that, you say, what does that mean to me?
Okay, so it pushes you along.
But the flip side of that is if you have a computer creating so much, there's a lot of chaff, that you have to separate out.
So true. Right.
Yeah.
Just chatting with people. You're born and raised in New York City.
Yeah, right across the street from where we are sitting right now.
You went to Stuyvesant High School, which is a selective high school that specialized in the way the Bronx High School of Science. That's what affected rivals.
That's right.
Intellectual rivals.
Why do you think that we've wrestled each other, man?
Yeah.
I always lose.
You would not like a book if it didn't have equations.
It's true.
This is weird.
Yeah, that has changed, I should say.
You thought more deeply about math than you thought about words.
Yeah, but the one change I would make to that statement was when it came to books for a science class. If the book was chock full of words, I feel like, oh no, there's a lot of interpretation that's going to go into this particular science class. But if it was chock full of equations, I was like, nah, this is rigorous. This is going to be specific, and it's going to be something that I can nail because I don't have to interpret. I can just really engage with the equation.
Wow. So in a history class or a literature class, you would have been in tears.
Well,
for the
again, it was mostly used for science. But you're absolutely right. There is a different mindset that you bring to a history class or an English class, which I did not have a full appreciation for it when I was younger. It's absolutely true. And as I got older, and especially there's a moment when I graduated college, and I said to myself, I think I just got a technical education as opposed to learning about the world and life and humanity. And I went into kind of a tailspin for a little while because I was like, what did I do? And that really then changed it all for me. And words have become vital to the way I engage with the world.
Do you think? I mean,
Wow.
It's in books. Yeah, words matter.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to other people who are not physicists.
And if you want to really get the essence of what someone's about as opposed to quantifying some quality of abstract or objective reality.
Okay. I think that's an enlightened posture.
Yeah.
My mantra is that every next level demands a different you, and Purdue Global is giving me an opportunity to prepare myself for that next level. This is my comeback. Start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
As an Old Spice hair rescue worker, we're not just rescuing hair health and hairstyle. We're rescuing the man beneath the hair. It's a real rush. Old Spice styling products promote healthier, fuller, and more moisturized looking hair, all while helping you consistently achieve the perfect look. That's because they're blended with the perfect mix of ingredients for men's hair, and they're available in low, medium, and high holds with matte and low shine finishes. Old Spice styling products leave no residue and wash off your hands easily. Every day is different, but luckily, we've got the best tools out there. My eyes are down here. And out here too. Rescue it with Old Spice styling products.
I'm there. It took me a while.
So, I'm going to do a follow-up. There was a question to our cosmic queries, cosmic queries, that I didn't have an answer to.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, and I said, I don't know. I got to, we're going to have to, Brian, we're going to get the big guns in here, all right? If I remember the question, it was, what happens if a quark falls into a black hole? You have a quark pair.
Yes.
And we've only ever found them in quark pairs.
Yeah.
Okay. And in a normal lab, if you take them and pull them apart, the force that wants to bring them together grows.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds weird when you're used to gravity and other things where distance makes something weaker.
But they're like really creepy identical twins. Like identical twins that are like super creepy.
Where they sort of
Where
talk
they
together.
kind of talk together. They have their own Latin language. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So but it's kind of like a rubber band.
Yeah.
As you stretch a rubber band, the force is greater.
Yeah, the gluonic force between.
Gluonic force. Yeah. That's held together by gluons. Okay. So now, as I pull it apart, there will be a point where it snaps. As I understand my nuclear physics, it snaps with the exact amount of energy you put in, so that out of that energy creates two other quarks.
Yeah.
So now I have four quarks.
Like quark antiquark pairs.
So thank you. Okay? Pairs. Okay. So now,
You want to see what happens.
now you send a pair of quarks down the black hole. It gets split. We make two other quarks. Yeah. Wait, very good. And you keep doing this, and then so wouldn't the quarks eat the entire gravitational field of the black hole?
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have a black hole left. You just have a ball of quarks.
You have to realize, number one, that we still don't know the physics of the singularity of black hole well enough.
Why else did I invite you into the office now?
So well, I wish one day I pray I'll sit here and tell you what happens at the singularity of the black hole.
No,
Yeah.
next time.
But here's the thing: there is nobody on planet Earth who knows the answer, unfortunately, yet.
Okay.
When we follow the mathematics to the actual singularity of the black hole,
Using Einstein general relativity.
using Einstein general relativity, and even some of the modifications that have come from more recent thinking, we're still not there yet to truly understand what happens. But I should say there are ideas. There are ideas of things, I don't know if you've heard of them, called fuzzballs, where there isn't actually a singularity, and the black hole is actually a more fuzzy collection of matter. So there are ideas of people.
That makes your math come out. Okay?
Makes the math come out okay, but we're not sure it's right.
They say black holes are where the singularity at the center of a black hole is where God is dividing by zero.
Yeah, that's a Stephen Hawking quip or something. I think it is,
So
you know.
You remember what?
Yeah.
You divide by zero, this not goes right. Right.
And it's actually, in a sense, it's literal, because if you calculate what's known as a scalar curvature, which is a number that characterizes how warped a region of space is. Okay. It does go to infinity as you go to the center of a black hole, just like when you divide by zero, it goes to infinity. In fact, it goes to infinity as the sixth power of your distance. So we know very well how badly behaved the center of a black hole is.
So it goes to infinity fast.
It goes to infinity fast.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so if you ask what really happens if something is just being crushed at the center, we can't really answer yet. So is it possible that as a quark-antiquark pair goes, that the tidal forces will create additional quark-antiquark pairs? Sure.
And then you have
but there's a limited time.
Give me some sound.
Yeah. So there may be a cloud, and there may be some sort of cloud that forms just before it hits. Ultimately, we believe it hits the singularity, whatever that means, because we don't really know what the singularity is.
It's a fuzzball, you can have fuzzball, of course.
Or the fuzzball may have a slightly different impact on the quark-antiquark pair. Maybe before it influence on it. Yeah, that's right, exactly. So it's a really good question, but it will have to fully await a full understanding of what truly happened.
So not being able to answer wasn't just my personal ignorance. It's a total ignorance of all humans on Earth.
Yeah,
I feel so bad.
There are many questions like that we're still struggling with. Like, we believe that when any information falls into a black hole, we believe that information does not get destroyed. But for a while, Stephen Hawking thought, no, any information ultimately hits the singularity and leads our universe. He changed his mind later in life, which just
was bet with.
Yes, that's right. So they bet, I think, an encyclopedia, the source of information that we humans have created. So they're.
Thorne was one of the executive producers on Interstellar.
Yeah.
And he sort of spearheaded the effort, among others, but he was the exponent to build the Laser Interferometry Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO, the detected colliding black hole, and he won the Nobel Prize for that.
Yeah.
So he's significant in our field, and I have at least a few books by him on my shelves. Yeah.
And he was clearly on a level of geekdom where he bets encyclopedias.
Yeah. So in terms of his book, he wrote an encyclopedic book on gravity and black holes, which is about 1,200 pages, just filled with equations. Therefore, I loved it when I was a kid.
But with the division of Thorne Wheeler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 2 copies of that in my office.
2 copies?
Yes.
You want to cross-reference?
Yeah. One of them is mine, and the other one belongs to my wife. We met in relativity class.
Really?
Taught by John Wheeler.
Really?
Yes.
You took relativity from Wheeler?
Yes, I did.
That is amazing.
GR.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so John Wheeler is one of the authors of this Misner, Thorne, and Wheeler.
Yeah.
And Misner taught physics at University of Maryland.
Charles
Misner.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't think of it as a quark catastrophe that would happen in the center of the black hole.
The trouble with quarks, they're like triples.
By the way, there's a previous, if we're physics geeking out here, right? There's a previous time, was it 110 years ago? There's something called the ultraviolet catastrophe.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember it. Well, I wasn't there, but I learned about it. Yeah, this is the start of quantum physics.
Yeah, it predated 1900.
Right.
It predated Planck, Max Planck.
Oh, okay.
Because there was an equation that would show how much energy would come from glowing objects.
Okay.
And how much energy of a certain wavelength of light, and then another wavelength. And so there'd be the spectrum of what it gives you. Okay. And if you follow that equation to higher and higher energies, it blows up. And it's called the ultraviolet catastrophe.
Nice.
Now, we knew that's not happening in the actual universe, but we had no theoretical understanding of why the actual universe was not doing what our equation said. So we knew something was missing.
Okay.
And Max Planck comes along, finish the story.
Yes, and Max Planck comes along and he suggests an idea that he never fully believed. This is interesting. He suggests that maybe the energy only comes in packets of certain quantized sizes. And therefore, your calculation of the amount of energy was biased by assuming that energy could come in arbitrarily large or small amounts. If you assume it only comes in packets of a minimum size, then the total energy inside that cavity
actually
is
converges
finite.
and drops off.
And it agrees with the experiment.
Right.
But the weird thing is,
and you got an equation. The equation is like, ooh, yeah, that's going to come out of someone's head,
Yeah.
right, to make this happen.
Yeah.
It's got an exponential, an exponential has interesting properties. It goes up and then it comes down again if it's a negative exponent. But there's a fun math in there.
Exactly.
And was it just a fitting function, or did he actually have deep physics insight?
He had a model in mind. He really quantized the energy. He broke it up into little bits and redid the calculation, and that's what came out. But then later on, he never fully believed that energy in light, in photons, as we now call it, did come in little packets.
Right.
He said, sure, the math seems to describe it, but I'm not willing to go to that next step of ascribing a full reality to it. And so it was really Einstein who came along and came up with the idea of photons, more particularly with the photoelectric effect. And that's how he wins the Nobel Prize. Many people think he won the prize for special relativity or general relativity. No.
I thought she could have had 8 Nobel Prizes. His Nobel Prize is for what he's least famous for.
You are surprisingly capable.
Bamboo HR is easy for everyone because everything works together. Time tracking flows into payroll.
Your right tower is under attack.
You enhance your retention
That's his name. That's great. People winning Nobel Prizes were discovering things that he predicted.
Right. So people add everything he predicted to the Nobel Prize count. That's what everything. You got Nobel Prizes for everything you did. I give 8 Nobel Prizes. What would you give?
Well, certainly gravitational waves. Although he didn't fully believe it, but it comes right out of his 1916 and 1916.
I'm saying rather than a Nobel Prize for everything people discovered based on his stuff.
Well, then it's kind of everything.
It's like that Bugs Bunny first base, Bugs Bunny second base, Bugs Bunny third base, Bugs Bunny everything. Yeah, every Nobel Prize is Albert Einstein.
That's the answer right there. And so, of course, since if energy is quantized, we form the branch of physics called quantum physics.
Wow. And that probably has had the greatest impact, like that we know.
That was the year 1900.
Yeah, well, 1905 is when Einstein writes his paper on the idea of photons, but next 1900 was 1900.
Started a new century.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You know, we recently posted a video in response to Terence Howard's appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast where he discussed his interpretation of maths. The key points to take away from that one, we should
What you want? Playing SMITE. Fuck.
Like this new study on dark matter being debunked. It suggests the universe's expansion is not driven by dark energy, but by functioning. Now, when it comes to new theories that challenge unaccepted understanding of space, it's important to see how different scientific sources are interpreting these findings to fully understand it. Luckily, ground news makes this much easier. With the branch fan, you get access to original research, plus every article covering it and even insight on each news publication political bias and credibility context that could influence every. Their founder and former NASA engineer also designed their giant spot feed, which uses patented technology to help us easily step out of our echo chambers and see into new stories we might have otherwise missed. Exposing yourself to diverse perspectives helps ensure that you don't just know enough about an issue to think you're right, but you actually know enough to recognize where you must. So, avoid the Dunning-Kruger effect, get ground news, and critically analyze the information you consume. All for $5 a month if you use our link to scan the QR code. You're saving 40% on the same unlimited access Vantage plan you use. We really can't recommend ground news. Rigorous analysis and combating misinformation enough. Having said all of that,
we're old enough to remember when the United States lost the most powerful collider in the world, the superconducting super collider, which there was money allocated. They started digging a hole. It was 200-mile circumference or something huge. And superconducting, it was going to use superconducting magnets, which had very powerful magnetic fields. And because that was coming of age at the time, it was going to push the frontier. My analysis, as you read the report, well, there were cost overruns, and we have too many other priorities here, so we're going to zero the budget for the superconducting super collider. And you read the report saying, well, we have other priorities, but this is going to be built in Texas. And if we're going to build the space station, which is based in Houston, Texas was already getting a chunk of change. You know what almost happened? Like in 1989 and 1992, like, the debates, and then they zeroed the budget. What else was happening over those years? Let me think. Oh my gosh. Peace broke out in Europe. No longer do we need the physicists to protect us from the evil, right, godless communists. That's what I think was the subtext of that story. Damn you, harmony, because no other particle accelerator was ever canceled for any reason that was designed to see this in the 20s. If you bring me one conspiracy theory, that's one. Bring me that.
But then you think they kept the space station because that was the place where the new battles might be waiting?
Possibly makes sense. Well, we're looking at it right now. When you think about it, yeah, the space force. So that's where I am. But I say this only that once that cancel the center of mass of particle physics went across the pond, the Earth, and then CERN, the Center for Physics, somewhere. It's a French acronym, right? When the words are in the French order or something. That's it. It goes there. And I think our lawmakers don't really understand that if we don't do the physics, someone else can and will. We don't own access to the future discoveries of science. And so now Europe does it. And so they went ahead, built a large hadron collider, and they successfully found the Higgs boson, the big holy grail.
July 4th, 2012.
It has July 4th. That's thinking of it. Wow, that really was. And you know they really found it on like June 20th. On June 20th, and you're like, guys, this for TV.
But there are a lot of Americans involved, and a lot of people that's just the same. But yes, exactly.
You know, even Peter Higgs is the American.
Peter Higgs was Scottish, I would think. I think he's from Edinburgh. Although I think he was at Edinburgh, but I don't think he was Scottish. Maybe he's English. You know, I don't know. But yeah, you know, he predicted its existence, and then it was discovered. And at the announcement, saw tears welling in this man's eyes. He's been waiting decades for this idea that at first nobody believed. Right. Ultimately, was accepted theoretically, but it was proven experimentally.
And what is the Higgs boson? Exactly. Of the particle categories, one of them is bosons. Right. Okay. And bosons are force mitigating particles. Okay. So when we think of a force action at a distance, there's a way to think about that in terms of the particles that in the category of particles of the boson. One of the bosons is this Higgs boson, which has what property?
Well,
I think you put that right.
Yes, very good. Yes, yes.
Let me set up there.
Can I? It's what endows other particles, even itself actually, with mass. Interesting. Now, where does that come from? Well, just to take it starts with the idea of a field. That's how you get rid of this idea of action at a distance. You imagine that space is filled with stuff.
You don't have to feel.
I really don't.
Oh, really? Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's insane. There's nothing there. You're looking at it, you're seeing, you're positing that there is something there. That's an amazing thing. But he's talking electric and magnetic field. Right. What Higgs is talking about is a new field called the Higgs field. Which you
got a gift card with $25 on there now.
So it's given a field space, and as particles that otherwise would be massless, as they try to go through space, they have to burn through the Higgs field. that creates a kind of drag force on them, which is what imparts the mass that they have. Okay, and that's the field. And what's the particle? Well, if you have this field, in principle, if you hit it hard enough, like hitting the surface of water, you can cause little particles of the field to spray out. And that's what the Large Hadron Collider did. It slammed proton against proton. And that jostled the Higgs field and caused a little droplet of it to break free. And that's the
Oh my God! So you've seen the actual piece of the field.
Yes.
You're oh my God! So the Higgs field generated by E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
With its own particle of its own.
That's amazing. That's right. Or you can say it's a quanta, to go back to the other language, it's a quanta of the Higgs field, like the proton is the quanta of the electron field.
Right, that's amazing. Hired a beer that's just too bland. No problem. Introducing the amazing Photo Ranger IPS. It's not power, but you can take it almost anywhere. Boring beer and start living dangerously today. Oh, okay. It's okay. Okay, now I get it. So it's not the particle that you're actually seeing. It's not the particle that is imbued with mass itself. It is the thing on which the particle is traveling. The field, the medium itself. Boom, it kind of slashes apart for a quick second, and then that itself becomes a particle and has mass. But shut the blue gas. Oh my God. That's fantastic. So my favorite catalog is when I explain these fields to people, I say it's like a Hollywood party. Okay, so there are people in the party, right, and the bar is at the back of the wall. Okay, and if no one knows you and you walk into this party, okay, that's my experience. You have near zero resistance to movement through that party too. So you have a very low, if not zero, party exactly. Okay, you have no into the bar right away. You can burn right in your inertia. It knows no resistance there. Exactly. Whereas if Beyonce walks in, everybody will crowd around her. She can only make very small steps towards the bar. Right. It's a very high party mass. Is that fair? That's awesome. That's a party field. If you slap all those party members, you can slap off one of them. That's the party. So I have learned, not from you, I'm disappointed because I thought you would have told me the whole story. Yes. Talk to you in these frontier conversations that the Higgs mass that a particle would have is only for free particles. If a particle is in an atom, it's not getting its mass.
I've told you this in the past, though. I absolutely have. But you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So
if I'm a fat proton in a nucleus, I'm not getting my mass from the Higgs field.
No, and that's why it's a really misleading notion that many people have. They think that all mass comes from the Higgs field. It is just a fundamental particle. And here's the thing, if you were to go up into your particle data book, which I know you have a few copies lying around here, if you look up the masses of the quarks, the up quark and the down quark that make up a proton, up, and the down, have their masses.
So that quickly, up and down, the nucleons have three quarks, right, in them all bound together, making up the proton and the neutron. But they're different combinations of three quarks. So this is good. No. The quarks have charges, fractional charges. Yeah. Right. Okay. So proton is a charge of +1. All right. How do you get that from three quarks?
Yeah. How do you do that?
So give me.
You have a 2/3 and a 2/3 and a -1/3.
There's -1/3. So 2/3 is 1 1/3. Minus charge to bring it down. Yeah. Neutrons have charge quarks inside of them, but they don't have any charge. So how do you get that?
Let's hear it.
Oh, it must be up 2/3 down, 1/3 down. One.
Yeah, so if you have an up and then a down, and down, then you got 2/3 minus 1/3 minus 1/3. Now,
canceling out, so as a neutral, even though what's inside of it has a charge.
Right, but here's the thing. The point I want to make, though, is if you add up the masses of those quarks, they're much less than the mass of the proton. So what's going on here? They make up the proton, and yet the proton is much heavier than its ingredients. Answer is, there's another contribution to the mass, which has nothing to do with the Higgs field, which is the thing we're talking about before, the energy in the glue holding the quarks. There's energy holding them together equals mc squared. There's mass associated with that energy, and most of the mass of the proton is coming from the glue that's holding the quarks together.
That's insane. So let's take a neutron, which has a half-life in minutes, like 15 minutes, I think memory serves. And after that amount of time, the neutrons will have decayed into a proton, and let's say if it's a regular proton, and then an
electron,
and
an antineutrino.
And antineutrino. But if you add the masses of those, don't you recover the mass of the proton?
As long as you're taking kinetic energy into account and all this too. But yeah, let's fly away. Yeah.
So the energy budget is all there.
That's all there.
Okay.
So everything is conserved.
Yeah.
And in fact, the way the neutrino was predicted was from looking at these particle decays and finding that the energy budget was not heading up. And so the idea was maybe there's an invisible particle that's carrying away some additional energy.
So what I like about this is you say, look, folks, I can't explain this. Let's make some shit up.
Yeah, but geniuses make up shit that's right.
That's great. That's what Carl Sagan all these people with these great ideas, and he said they also laughed at Bozo the Clown. So, just because he laughed doesn't mean it's wrong, right? He makes it up, and then everyone starts looking for it, and it's this highly elusive particle that has no